Good morning, guys. So, unfortunately, I don't know how to feel about this morning. It's pretty grim. As you all know, today, the 1122 King House Road is being demolished. I recorded sections from JB, Hey JB, and Lawyer You Know, clips of the demolition and, um, you know, information about it while it's happening. I'm gonna, in a second here, add that to my video so you guys can see the demolition for yourself, and I'm going to put the link below so you guys can also go and watch it live for yourself. Again, I'm watching it live through Hey JB on YouTube. If you could please let me know in the comments how you feel after watching this house be dug into and being demolished. I would love to know how you feel in the comments. And if you could please hit that like button and that subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. Again, I'm going to post the link below as to where you could watch this live demolishing happening of the house. Now, I'm going to pause there, put the video, and then I'm going to say a few more things. Here it is.
Let's bring this up.
Stream Center. Breaking news on WFLA Now. WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
Months ahead of a possible trial window, a murder scene bulldozed the University of Idaho, proceeding to demolish the home where 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death last year, a highly controversial decision. Let's take you out there live to King Road in Moscow, Idaho, where the sun has not yet come up yet, but the demolition, if my watch is correct, beginning more than 15 minutes early. Here you see one of the crew members standing over the rubble where the demolition is currently underway. This is the home, for those of you just joining us on Facebook Live or perhaps elsewhere on social media or on WFLA.com, this is the home where in November of 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death in the middle of the night. Afterwards, after a couple of months, the investigation led them to suspect Brian Koberger, who is currently awaiting trial for the stabbing deaths of University of Idaho students Susanna Kernodle, Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Ethan Chapin. But 6 months before the possible trial window opens up, prosecutors, the defense, the university, in agreement that the King Road residence where the murders took place can be demolished, and that is what is happening on schedule here on King Road in Moscow. A decision that is just, without putting too many labels on it, is controversial. People asking already in our comment section, will this decision be regretted in the future? Now, prosecutors say they have all the evidence they need, in essence. They're not standing in the way of this being bulldozed, simply because they feel that they have what they need to make their case should a trial actually occur in, let's say, I don't know, May, June, July, August. But the response online from people who have followed this case, asking, why now? Why not leave it up for one more semester? Allow for the trial to begin as scheduled, and it be used as a tool, potentially, if needed, for the jury to reach their conclusion as to whether or not Brian Koberger is guilty of first-degree murder. I'm going to ask my stream chat, because look, it's not that big of a deal, but I think the demolition began early, right? The demolition was slated, I had it as 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 Central. And then, of course, Pacific time, Moscow, Idaho. So, yeah, and then some others in the chat here wondering, is there anyone...
Come on.
As promised, we have now another picture to show you.
Well, because that was the bigger color part. I'd say
And I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between these feeds. I'm curious to know exactly what the scene looks like other than the house itself, whether or not there are onlookers, people on the block who came outside. It's cold. It's 34, 35 or so degrees in Moscow, Idaho this morning. But did anybody show up with signs? Are there any demonstrations taking place? It should also be stated as well that the university said that the demolition should take several days. And I remember thinking to myself, I have a hard time believing that a relatively small structure is going to take that long to demolish. It's not even 10 o'clock Eastern yet, and the home is already half demolished. They'll have to, of course, remove a lot of the debris, what's left behind, and of course that's a process that will take several days. But I mean, in large part, the house is destroyed, and now, of course, it'll be very interesting to see the response online, seeing this with again a potential trial, perhaps starting in as early as 5-6 months.
Like two.
You might hear some reporter chatter here. Let's go to the other feed. Listen in here.
Yeah, so that was just heartbreaking for me. Let me know what you think below, how you felt seeing that clip of the house being destroyed. Again, I'm going to put in below the link to Hey JB so you can watch the live of the house being demolished for yourself. But I just want to know, do you think that this is good or bad for the defense? Is this good or bad for the prosecution? Should they have waited till after trial? Does this give Bryan Kohberger a reason to appeal if something does happen where he's convicted? Is this just going to cause more problems than good? Is Scott Green only looking out for himself because his enrollment of students may have dropped and he thinks that it's a financial burden? But really, I don't see the house standing being the financial burden as much as I see the crime that happened being the burden. So why wasn't he addressing the feelings of the family? As I put in this, as that's in this live too, they discuss how they feel and the statements that they've made, and they've made it clear that they wanted the house left alone. So is Scott Green selfish for tearing down the house? Should the house have been left alone? Again, let me know below. And if you could hit that like and subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. I will keep you updated more on this demolition as I can. Again, I will put the link below as to where you can find the live. God bless these beautiful souls. Rest in peace, and I hope that they get justice. I just don't see how knocking the house down is not crucial to the case. Jurors are going to want to see it, most of them anyways, and the ones who aren't technology or good with technology get chosen. The jurors who don't know a thing about technology, the 3D stuff isn't going to mean nothing to them. They're going to want to see the actual crime scene. So therefore, I feel like this is just a big no-no. This should not have happened. And I feel they should have listened to the families, because now I feel that the justice that the families deserve might not be served. And I feel like if Bryan Kohberger is innocent and they have the wrong guy, that's also not a good idea to knock down the house, because he deserves to have a juror see what the roommates heard. He deserves to see what the roommates saw and how far they could have been seeing things and how loud things would have been from their rooms. Stuff like that. That house should have been left alone so that they could do stuff like that. Do a visit and actually have them hear what the roommates would have heard from their rooms. So I really feel they should have left the house up. But, everyone's entitled to their opinion, so I'd like to know what you think below. And all I know is it was really heartbreaking for me to see them knock down this house. And I just feel like they should have valued what the family said instead of thinking about only the university and only the students. Because the students and the university didn't lose their children. These 4 families lost their children, and their opinion should matter. But anyways, I'm going to stop rambling. Here's the rest of the live that I've recorded, and I will post a link below so you can watch the whole thing. Thank you and have a good day. Please hit that subscribe button on your way out. I'm sorry, one last thing. You guys realize, well, maybe most of you realize, this has never happened in a case like this. A house has never been destroyed. A huge piece of evidence like this has never been destroyed before a trial actually happened. And I just feel like they should have kept their original word where they said they would keep the house up until the trial. What is one more semester? They're talking about summer trial. What is one more semester? Why? Why now? And I'm sorry, I just wanted to add this because it's just strange to me. This has never happened. Y'all have a good day.
As early as 5-6 months.
Like two.
I'd like to take a moment to read one of the more recent statements that came from the Gonzalez and Kernodle families. They issued a joint statement in objection to what you are witnessing right here, the demolition of the King Road residence. And I'm going to read it, and it lays out some points as to why, or what they describe as basic evidentiary purposes, why the demolition should not have been allowed to proceed. And it reads as follows. The Gonzalez family has reached out to the Latah County Prosecutor's Office and the University of Idaho to stop this madness. When the victims can't speak, you have to speak for them when you feel someone is hurting the case. Let's just answer the question on why the King Road house should stand for basic evidentiary purposes. What were the vantage points of the roommates? What could they hear from where they were in the house? What could they see? How far was one of the surviving roommates when she saw Brian Koberger, and why didn't he see her? Could the surviving roommates hear a dog barking from the third floor? Screams? Can you hear those same sounds from the bottom apartment? Outside the house, if evidence is presented about Brian Koberger leaving or watching the house, what windows could he see in from where he was parked? Was he able to view the inside of the house and what was going on from outside, sitting in a car walking by? How long did it take for him to walk to his car? What points of entry could he have gotten into the house? Is there audio evidence? What can you hear standing outside the house? What can you hear inside the house? What was Vanna's path in the house to pick up the DoorDash? Did she have to walk past different rooms? Could she have walked past Brian Koberger? Where could he have been hiding? All the entry and exit points in the home. How could you get in and out without anyone seeing you? Were the decks potential access points, since the decks and landscape features are very close to each other? Any biological evidence? Where was it located in the house? Any proximity to the victims? Was there any trail outside of biological evidence and its proximity to the house? If the house itself was a target, why was the house a target? Why are all the access/exit points to the property? I'm not sure if I'm reading that one correctly. The driveway configuration for a vehicle to exit/enter/turn around. What are the vantage points of other camera evidence pointed toward the house? Distance, view, lighting, etc. And then they go on to ask for a trial date being scheduled. If there was any last-minute attempt for a court order to stop this from moving forward, it failed. We don't know what those efforts look like and how far along they got and whether they were entertained or not, but they did not get far enough to prevent this from happening. Now, to respond to the Gonzalez and Kernodle families, as far as some of these questions, prosecutors have stated that they have what they need, and also too that a lot of the questions that they're raising can be answered in the form of digital recreating the crime scene digitally for a jury. But really, this is going to be fascinating, because how does a digitally recreated crime scene, how would it stand up against, we'll never really know the answer to the question, but how does a digitally recreated crime scene stand up to physically being there? We know that in the Murdoch case, that the jurors were able to go and stand outside, stand around the dog kennels where the, of course, murders had taken place. And we'll never truly understand, or maybe we will in time as more jurors come forward, but what kind of impact that had, the emotional depth that comes with visiting a crime scene. Also, too, though, it has on the third floor, down to the second floor, down to the first floor with this hooded or figure in the darkness, if you will, making, an exit out of the house, being seen by one of the surviving roommates. Trying to put yourself in that home, and now that watching that home be demolished. Yeah, I'm sure to Brooke's point, I'm sure for many it's difficult to watch. What else are we seeing here in the comment section? Again, I'm literally going to just isolate for hashtag KJB for a moment because it makes things a little bit easier for me to see. Ali says, hashtag KJB, everything about this feels wrong. We'll get to our poll results here in a moment. My Instagram poll last night, I thought the results were somewhat surprising, but we can talk more about that in a little bit. But I ran an Instagram poll last night to try to get an idea as to where everyone's frame of mind was at heading into today. That poll is still up on my Instagram. I don't have access to the News Nation live feed, but ICU says that they're reporting on News Nation that debris will now be guarded because of souvenir hunters, etc. L says hashtag KJB, why/how did the prosecution agree to this? I'm not entirely sure, and I'll have to check my notes, if they agreed to it. There's a difference between agreeing to something and then not standing in the way of something. They might not have objected to the university's decision and chose not to act in opposition. But no, really, prosecutors did not put up a fight in preventing this. So, and that, of course, has raised a lot of questions. But speaks to how confident they must be in what they do have evidence-wise. American Dreamer, hashtag AJB, will they go through the rubble? It's a very interesting question. Will someone sift through the remnants of the home to make sure that there isn't something that was missed? Even if they did find something of value, it would be so... I would imagine, I'm not an expert, I'm not an attorney, but I would imagine it would be so incredibly easy to get it tossed out because you have no true proof of where it was, how long it was there. There's so... I don't know. What I do know is that we have a friend of the program joining. Let's welcome in from... I don't even know where he is. On vacation, man. Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know, is joining us. It wouldn't be right to be talking about this case and not be bringing in Peter. Peter and I have streamed a lot on this particular story. Peter, you on vacation? Where are you, my friend?
I'm in North Carolina, man, and it's freezing here.
Oh my goodness.
It's freezing.
Welcome. Hope you and your family are great. Happy holidays to you and the Tragos clan. What's talk to me. You're looking at this. We've been talking about King Road for really more than a year now. You see this. What's your gut initial reaction, even before you're interpreting this as a lawyer? What's going through your mind?
Yeah, to me, there's just so many questions about why it's necessary at this point, this time. They talk about the economics. They talk about, how much it costs to keep the house up and those types of things. It's almost nothing. If you look at a budget and you look at everything they're paying for, to me, it really has more to do with probably PR, and they want people to not think about this when they think about the University of Idaho, and they want to try to put this in the past, and I can understand that. But while the case is still active, the world is still watching, nobody's going to put this in their rearview mirror until the trial's over, and maybe not even then. As we know, there are post-trial things that happen that keep people's eyes and attention on it. And I just think there are so many more reasons to leave it up, just in case, better safe than sorry type of story, than to remove it at this point.
We're introducing hashtag lawyer you know into the conversation. Of course, Peter is the lawyer you know. You can follow him on his respective social media platforms, including right here on YouTube. Peter, we're going to get to those hashtag lawyer you know questions because I'm sure a lot of the questions that our live chat has right now are similar to the questions that I have. But I want to start with this one because I always try to approach situations like this lowest common denominator. And I start with this asking one fundamental question. Is there any financial reason? Is there any money reason as to why they would be proceeding with this? Or is it purely in large part, they just want to move on?
Yeah, I mean, the financial reason would just be to save the money to keep the house up, to take care of the house, to... Can you hear me still?
Oh yeah, I got you. But I guess
Okay.
I guess I'm
I
also
switched-
wondering. I guess I'm also I got you. I got you on the AirPods.
Okay.
I guess I'm wondering, are they afraid that the house is scaring off prospective students? I mean, I'm thinking about all of the various financial reasons as to why they would be so keen on taking this risk. It is a risk to demolish this house, and why they would want to move forward with it so badly.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the PR part of it, right? There's all financial ripple effects that come from people associating this case with the University of Idaho, right? It's students, it's donors, it's people coming to football games, basketball games, parents' weekend, whatever it may be. The little bit of tourism they probably get from the university being there is affected by this. And I think they think this is a step in the direction of putting this behind them, which, again, we can understand from the victim's point of view how hurtful this can be, how difficult this can be. For some of the victims, we can understand some of the victims, don't really care what happens because they realize it's not going to change what's going on. Other victims are probably in support, at least partially, because they also want to put it behind them. But at the end of the day, I think everybody wants justice in the case. And if this could help even 1% in getting that justice, whichever way it turns at trial, to me, I don't understand the reason why you would get rid of the house at this point.
To read the statement from this gentleman here, I'm just going to bring down some audio a little bit. But on the left is Idaho President Scott Green, and his statement read as follows. That the house is a grim reminder of the heinous act that took place there. While we appreciate the emotional connection some family members of the victims may have to this house, it is time for its removal and to allow the collective healing of our community to continue. This, of course, coming from the University of Idaho, and this is Scott Green from the University of Idaho website. So that, again, speaking to why they want to, that's it in their words. What we're going to do now is spotlight your hashtag #LawyerYouKnow questions. We'll come back to hashtag HJB, but while we have X amount of minutes with Peter while he's on vacation, providing us with legal analysis, we're going to try to just exclusively focus on questions and comments with hashtag #LawyerYouKnow. And Peter, before I take Nicole's question here on the center of our screen, let's just start with this question. You're on vacation. How many minutes do you have for our Q&A here coming up?
I'm good till about 10:30, so I got a little more than